Over. Hi, I'm Linda Kay Gifford, and I help people to manage complex PTSD, which is the result, generally, initially at least, of years of childhood sexual assault. And I want you to stop calling it abuse, everybody, please, for my sake, for all of us who have been assaulted repeatedly in our childhoods, please call it assault, childhood sexual assault, because abuse is too light of a word. Words matter. Don't lighten it. Okay. That being said, today we are going to do a shorter, this isn't Sunday when I talk for, well, a longer time. The Sunday was about 50 minutes, and it's on there in a deeper dive. But we're going to dive into some lessons today. Today, I want to talk to you about narcissists. This has come up, and I've listened to some webinars on it myself, been doing some research and reading this week because of a conversation I had where with my own therapist. I see a therapist, I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, 7 years of it. It shaped me, it formed me, it made my brain grow differently than a person who was not assaulted and abused. And that's what happens to children, whether they're emotionally neglected, physically assaulted, whatever it might be. If you're a child, then you don't grow the connectivity. So the new science is interesting and promising because, like, I no longer feel like I'm crazy because of my ability to disassociate. And I've talked about disassociation a lot. We talked about it a lot last week. It comes into play today, not as the focus, but as an element of why do I keep getting into relationships with narcissists? I did it 3 times in a row. One of them was a very passive love bombing narcissist. One of them was blatantly all about himself. The third one was the most just mixed up. He meant well. Really sad, meant well. But he was just very mixed up from his own childhood traumas and abuse. So we draw narcissists. It happens. It's a fact. It's studied. They didn't used to know why, but more and more we're putting it together. And I personally am finding ways to understand finally why I routinely, I was going to say fall for, but I never fell for any of them. Why I accepted into my life and into my bed, why I signed marriage certificates with people who really had their own best interests at heart and to whom I was mostly an accessory. And the deal is, I've learned a lot. Check into Lisa Romano. I posted her webinar. It was very helpful. I've watched a lot of her stuff, actually. Lisa Romano. There's a letter in the middle. I can't remember what. Lisa A. Romano, maybe. But it's on my thread. And I understood the way she put it when she was with her own experience and being a medical professional herself in this kind of field. She was saying that narcissists it's a personality disorder, and we all have to have a little bit of narcissism. I mean, it's also a personality trait that everyone must possess in order to look out for their own best interests. But narcissists, which are kind of subdivided into like elitist narcissists, those who just were raised to believe they deserve everything for some reason, and maniacal, I believe it's called, narcissists who are actually the dangerous mean ones, the ones who would beat you up and lock you in a room and rape you at gunpoint rather than let you go. That was my best friend Lisa's experience and how we bonded. The husband she married locked her in their home, raped her at gunpoint, and let her leave. Her husband. So that was an early marriage for her. I've had 3 marriages. I thought I went into all of them well-meaning. I loved who I married. I So I've been very confused. I've been very confused as to why. I'm blaming myself too. It's like I've got to be in this. It can't all be them. It can't all be them. So just because I call them narcissists doesn't mean I'm saying they're bad and I'm good. I'm saying it doesn't work for me. It's not a personality trait when taken to the extreme I like. So oddly enough, why then do I and the textbook survivor of childhood sexual assault, not abuse, assault and abuse and emotional neglect, and why do we attract narcissists into our lives? And the deal is, a narcissist is so self-absorbed that they look at you as, what can you do for me? And then at any point that you disagree or that you might want to have a different opinion or something, they stomp all over you, because narcissists are at a 2-year-old level in their minds. Listen to Lisa Romano on this one. They see, basically, I'm going to paraphrase Lisa, the webinar I was listening to, saying, think of a narcissist as like a 2-year-old in a toy store. They don't have the concept of mine, not mine. Like, it's a store and you can't have everything. They're like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. Awesome. What do you mean I can't have it? I'm pissed. I hate you. That's how a narcissist, their emotional development has stopped there. So that's why you can't argue with one either. You will not win. And you don't need to win. You need to leave. I see all these things. How do you deal with a narcissistic spouse? It's like you divorce them. Duh. I am not at all a proponent of sticking around bad marriages and making them work because you said you're getting married. I'm a proponent of, this is the one life you get that you know of. Freaking live it and be excited and happy about it, not submitting to the will of society and your family. And, my children are successful and happy. Just talking with my partner last night, I was like, I've never had a day that I wasn't on speaking terms with any of my 3 children. And I am straight up, blatantly honest. I have been married and divorced 3 times. They've been along for the ride. And it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And that's what I'm here to say. You need to figure out, if you're in a situation where you feel like you have to choose your words carefully, if you feel like you have to make somebody love you, if you're wondering what you're doing wrong to make them not want to have sex with you or come home at night. The not want to have sex with you is a big one, though. And we're going to talk about that, because the overlooked thing, all this stuff about marriages, it's like almost all of it's like, you got to suck it up and tough it out. It's going to be hard. It's like, I don't buy any of that. I don't. I think I would much rather bail on a marriage that is not fulfilling and get on with my life. And you can, while not being vindictive, the kids have another a spouse, another parent. So I'm trying to say. So, okay, get on. You'll be all right. That narcissist will never, ever, ever agree that you have any right to leave them. So if you're with a narcissist, you need to recognize that what they're fulfilling for you is your need to be needed. They make you feel needed, but they also manage to make you feel unworthy. So you're used to that state. We are survivors of abuse and assault, and long-term such, as children. And so we learned to take it. And we learned to disassociate, which is where I'm going to pull this in from the top of the live stream, where I said we're going to bring disassociation in. We're not going to dissect it like we have been. We're not going to dissect the neurobiology. If you want that, look at last week's live streams. And they're all on the playlist, easy to find. But the disassociation is very important in recognizing that when you have the ability to compartmentalize your emotions such that you can exist in two separate worlds, you are very susceptible to the charms and the abuse of a narcissist, because they don't know what they're doing. They're not out to get you. It's just who they are. And I have made a choice to avoid them, because I have realized in the past, it's not like I was looking for a narcissist, but they're easy to accept. Narcissists are easy to accept because they so want to be appreciated that they immediately become everything you want them to be. They act the way you want them to. They talk the way you want them to. One of my husbands, who was a super classic narcissist, he always had the ability to be whoever he was talking to, what they wanted him to be. From a farmer to a dignitary, from an English bloke to a Ozark, hillbilly with no grammar skills, at least. I'm not a put down, I mean, educated. He could do it. He could be what anybody wanted him to be. And he was great at being exactly what I wanted to be. And some other people, whoever along the way wanted him to be, he was good at being what they wanted him to be too. And just a little disconcerting, because to a narcissist, also, hands down, narcissists will cheat. If they want to, they will, at least. Maybe they don't want to for some reason. But narcissists do not in any way feel really attached to anybody. So you are seeking their approval. And you, as a survivor of childhood sexual abuse or neglect or emotional abuse, or survivor guilt, anything that you feel ashamed and guilty. The problem is shame and guilt, they don't just isolate into that one thing. You don't just think of it in that past sexual sense. It goes out and spreads into everything. That guilt and shame will creep in anytime you feel uncomfortable. Body memory, which is beyond your conscious thought, will kick in, and there's the guilt and the shame. But you don't even recognize it, because most of the time, like half the time it happens, it's not even a situation where you should feel guilty or shameful. You don't even realize that's what you're feeling. And you transfer. And you're looking to feel better. And this person wants you to praise them. And so they're giving you everything you want to hear. This is why I have told my children and everybody else, including the Somalian twins that got me in trouble with the bus company when I was a bus driver. It's like, you don't have to marry who daddy says. You own your vagina. It doesn't matter how many penises have been in your vagina. You're still a good person. I recommend keeping it to a low number, just for obvious reasons of health and well-being, and because I honestly think that sex is a game that people need to realize is about happiness and fulfillment and orgasms, but it also carries the added thing where it can make people. It can make people, and it can also give you deadly diseases that you'll carry for life, or maybe not deadly, but transmissible. You want to do that? So this is what we were talking about Sunday, and introduced Sunday, that we'll be talking about it more, is masturbation. It's not a dirty word. Masturbation is a great thing. And we should embrace that. We should teach our children in an indirect sort of way, naturally, that sexual fulfillment and orgasmic fulfillment is inherently important, and that you can achieve that on your own, so that instead of making mistakes just because they want to be sexually fulfilled, because they're horny, because they're people, how about make it permissible by your religion and by your family standards and whatever, that you can masturbate. And I'm going to repeat, because Sunday was a deeper dive and this is a new broadcast. So I'm going to tell you what my mom did that so impressed me. One of my nephews, when he was very young, was in the yard, pants down, playing with his stuff. And my mom said to him, she didn't say, "Stop that," or "You can't do that here," or anything. She's like, name grandchild. I will not name him. That would be cruel. Even though he's an adult now, and I really want to. No, that would be cruel. So she said, grandchild, we don't do that in front of other people. That's something we do when we're alone. And I was like floored, like, wow, Mom, that's so right on. That's so cool. That is right. We do that when we're alone. And here's the reason I think we should, and that we should encourage it. Wouldn't you rather that your children got their budding need to feel sexually stimulated, satisfied by themselves, than they get into a relationship just to be satisfied? I don't think you need to explore every human body you come in contact with that you may think about or that may want you. Some people like to keep score. I have and like to keep a low score. They say to look for silver linings in your abuse. And if you're like me, you made a decision, even though I say I chose narcissists, and I've been married and divorced 3 times and all, I still, compared to anybody I know my age, have like slept with a tiny amount of people. And it's not like I'm saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying, I honestly think that you should consider that your body is a goddamn temple and that you should be incredibly selective. That does not mean you should not be sexually satisfied. So masturbation needs to become the societal norm. And that means for girls too. And that is going to bring me to, oh my God, multiple studies, and I cross-referenced women polled. I gotta have a drink for this, about orgasms. Women polled say 70 to 80%, depending on the poll, on average, say they have never, ever experienced an orgasm. And I'm just like, our culture is messed up when only the guys get to have orgasms. And then when they do it for the wrong reasons, with the wrong people, and when girls are seeking sexual satisfaction, but they can't reach orgasm, it's because they don't really know what it is. That's why they also need to learn about masturbation, because masturbation is the key to understanding what makes your body respond and feel good. And then as you proceed slowly, after you're 30, I have kids, I want to raise the age of consent. When you're way, way old, then you should slowly proceed with touching things with a person. Don't just jump right into bed. See if do you feel passion? Do they smell good? Does the air around them vibrate? Are you there because you want something out of them, or because you're coerced into it? Or are you there because you literally are physically on fire? And if you're not physically on fire, get out. You don't need anything they've got. The way I feel about my partner, I would live in a cave with nothing with him before I would go without him, if that was my option. And it's not based on anything other than the vibration in the air when I look at him, and that's what it should be. That's what you should have. That's what everyone should have. And if you get to that, if you understand what that is, you will be able to have orgasms. And then you'll be like, oh my God, why didn't I do that my whole life? And your life will change. I speak from experience. I do. I got very good at having my own orgasms, and I just kind of ruled out it happening with men, I mean, I'm over it now, but because that ship sailed and I'm in a relationship that's amazing. But everyone isn't. Most people aren't. And so you need to take care of yourself and realize that your sexual satisfaction it's great to find someone you want to be with, but be damn sure you do for the right reasons, not just because you're hard up and horny. It shouldn't be a case of, what's the song? It's a lonely old night when I'll wrap my arms around you, or something like that. What, John Mellencamp? Or was it Cougar? I don't know. I'm not even the right artist, but you know what I mean. So I think I've dwelt on orgasm enough. It's important. It's important. Women, look into this. Okay, I haven't dwelt on it enough. I'm going to throw in, because we're on the subject, I saw an interview a German reporter, a German female reporter, interviewed 3 Syrian refugees who were in their early 20s, early to mid 20s, all 20 to 25, 3 of them. And none of them knew what an orgasm was. None of them knew what a vagina was, not even what, like in their own language. The women also interviewed Syrian refugee women did not know what a vagina was. That's just the place down there that someday your husband will discover after your dad tells him to. Don't look at boys, don't look at boys, don't look at boys, said a Muslim friend of mine. Don't look at boys your whole life and then fuck that one forever. Whatever he says, that's what you're going to do. That's that life. No, no, no. So those who want to come after me, I do not have a gun, but I'm going to soon. I'm getting my FOID and I'm going to be armed now. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about a little bit. I'm a little bit alarmed. I'm a bleeding heart liberal for the most part. But when it comes to guns, as someone who was raised in a house with a gun cabinet in the living room, my minister counselor father also had my great-grandfather's guns and an assortment of reasonable, logical guns one would have, you know, a 22 and a couple shotguns, 16 gauge, you know, a few handguns. A good argument, though. People are talking about, oh, you want to use the 12th Amendment for what you want to the NRA and the right, and they're way out of line. And I need to get back in touch. They're just starting to meet again and see if they still need me to be the Secretary of Moms Demand Action here in Springfield, Illinois. But I gotta say, I'm just going to throw this in there. The idea of being able to keep and bear arms was so that the military could not be corrupted and overthrow the will of the people. So if the people don't have weaponry equal to the military, we talk about weapons have changed so much since back then, that's why people shouldn't have them. But here's the deal, the spirit of the Constitution, at least the Second Amendment, says that the reason we should be able to have guns is to stand up to the military in the case that they are corrupt. Now, I threw that aside and have, you know, even though I am not a proponent of anti-gun, I definitely felt that there's no need for major assault rifles and things like that until Trump took office. And now I saw and still see the possibility of an actual civil war, resurrection in this country. A resurrection of the Civil War, an insurrection in this country has already happened. And I feel the problem is mental health. And that's where it ties into what I do with trigger management and helping people. I'm going to throw in here a friend of mine, one of those friends that you wonder why they're a friend. They're almost not a friend, but they kind of make you think enough that you still go back for more once in a while. Says that friend is like, I don't even know how to say. I, for one, am going to be armed in my own home now. And I'm not a proponent of carrying a gun around everywhere that I go. On the other hand, I'm not in today's society. So I'm kind of on the fence, but I definitely think that the answer is mental health. People who want to get guns and shoot people indiscriminately in crowds and such, or even discriminately, people they want to eliminate, those people are part of a huge mental health crisis in this country. So I do believe that our gun crisis is really more about mental health, because in a country this size, people who want guns are going to get them, like they always say. So taking them away from people like myself who fear, really, for the first time in my life, I actually fear insurrection. I never thought there could be a civil war that I would have to be part of. But I damn well have already gotten have gotten death threats just based on my views of daddy shouldn't pick your husband and abortion, so just throwing that in there, not going to get real long on that. So today, we talked about, I was going to talk about, okay, we stopped telling people. Basically, if your religion says that once someone is not a virgin, that they are no longer worthy, then anybody who has been raped or sexually assaulted in their lifetime, much less repeatedly for years, is never, ever going to feel okay. And that is not okay. You need to stop that. I'm throwing that in. This is my advocate part. Advocate. So I advocate that you get a grip on punishing victims of childhood rape, sexual assault, and abuse, punishing doctors who perform abortions for them. You know who you are. Get off of other people's bodies. Separation of church and state is inherent in our Constitution. It is the baseline of American, okay, you love to say, ooh, it's not a democracy. Okay, fine. Our constitutional republic, it's still the baseline premise is that we're removing religion. So when you vote, and the conservative and Republicans, they refuse to even say that they don't believe in, or that they believe in that. They won't even say they believe in the separation of church and state. They're just like, hell no. They don't think it's church to defy science for their own personal interests and mythology. So that's a problem. You need to advocate, and so do I. Whatever's happened to you, I'm going to wrap up with whatever in your life you were a part of, happened to you. You were emotionally abused, you were physically assaulted, you were sexually assaulted. It doesn't in any way register with God. God is the spirit of love and goodness and kindness in the world, and could give a shit what mistakes or what traumas befall your vagina. Okay? We need to care about it though. So advocate, educate. Remember my acronym, SPADES. The shame is not yours. Separate the past from the present every moment, every day. And that's what we really work on. We're going to work on more in our lessons tomorrow. Separate the past from the present. Ask for what you want. Don't just take what's given. Ask for what you want. Don't be anybody's pawn. Don't do what your religion or your society or your parents tell you to do. Ask for what you want in the bedroom and in the boardroom and everywhere in between. Don't wait to feel okay to be okay. You are the survivor of I'm not going to call it tragic, although it kind of is, but a trauma. You're a trauma survivor. Tons of people on this planet have their cross to bear. I've got mine, you've got yours. A lot of similar crosses is why you're here. So you can't wait until you feel like you're over this, because you're not. You never will be. Survivors don't have a graduation day. You will live and get on with it. And my new sweetsurvivor.com site is almost launched. It should be launched by tomorrow. Been working on it incessantly. It's right now, I'm putting it together with Feel Good Fair Trade, my other store, just to give it some bigger emphasis. People already know Feel Good Fair Trade. When you come there, you're going to see Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund. There's going to be an opportunity to subscribe and custom merchandise and such. Speaking of subscribe, I hate to say this kind of stuff, but I need subscribers because we need a custom URL, because we're doing this algorithm thing so that we can get to 1,000 subscribers, and then we can monetize and raise money to rescue victims of human trafficking and abuse. And what the Sweet Survivor Rescue Fund is designed to do is buy tickets, buy transportation, get people where they need to go, get them out of crisis. Super simple. I need your help, though. So I would appreciate it if you would do so. And join me again tomorrow. I'll be back. Linda Kay Gifford, survivor. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm going to make the best of it. And so can you. Oh, that's what my friend said. I started to say this and I handed it off. That kind of friend said, you're like the blind leading the blind. And I'm like, I'll take that. Because I was saying how I'm in therapy for an hour every week and probably always will be. And I tell you guys that every week. She's like, you're like the blind leading the blind. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, who knows Braille better than someone who's been blind for a while and decided to learn how to see. So I have learned how to see through my past trauma and assaults and abuse and have a fantastic life right down to the O's. And I think you should too. So come back tomorrow. Let's keep talking. Bye.